So, you're playing one of Minecraft's most grindy mod packs and you don't want to do all that grinding. You are in that part of the pack where things start getting complicated and cost scale while your infrastructure is still not quite there. You want to take a shortcut. Well, what if I told you that you can do it, and it isn't even that hard. With just a little redstone,
It's literally too easy for a beast such as myself.
and some applied energistics, we can smooth our progression right then and there. Greg Tech New Horizons, it's a Minecraft mod pack where you need to automate everything and do a lot of infrastructure. You know the deal. You want to upgrade your iron to steel? Just put out all these resources, little bro. I hope you like digging for clay. Things get worse. As you progress, you unlock new materials, each 10 times more annoying to craft than the previous ones. You want to automate titanium? Please deposit this many resources. And this is without counting the machines needed to make these resources in the first place. This might seem like torture, but it does give us players some funny puzzles to solve, such as... Here is the quest book. When you get to this tab, you are finally entering the mid-game. Yes, the mid-game. This is after over 300 hours or more of gameplay, by the way. Here the game fundamentally changes, because now you can make fully automated bases using applied energistics. You could use it before, but now it starts becoming obligatory. You can have all your items basically centralized and available anywhere in your base for any machine and processing line, and you can even set up auto-crafting. It's really cool. Unfortunately, just like everything in this mod pack, in order to earn, you must first spend, and A2 is expensive. Well, it's well worth it, so you'll want to automate every machine and every recipe. Just an itty bitty little problem. In GTNH there are two kinds of machine, single blocks and multi-blocks, cause you know, they are made using multiple blocks. Single blocks accompany you since the very start of the game. They have no special abilities and do exactly what they say on the tin. Extruder extrudes, chemical reacts, etc. Multi-blocks on the other hand, either offer unique recipes that single blocks cannot do, or are simply better than the single block equivalents, faster and more power efficient. Then, what's the catch? Well, multi-blocks are also more expensive and annoying to build. Womp womp. And they are usually locked behind technological progression. There is also another advantage about multi-blocks that only becomes more readily apparent when you start automating things with AE2. In GTNH, there are certain recipes that use non-consumable items. This means that they are not used up during crafting. That's great, right? But also no. Here is an example. Imagine you want to autocraft a CPU wafer. You know, for making CPUs. You tell the ME system that the recipe is 1 silicon wafer and 1 diamond lens. You then place the recorded recipe on an ME interface. The ME system will now send these items into this single block laser engraver whenever you ask to autocraft a CPU wafer. The thing is, this will work perfectly fine. You queue up the autocraft, the items are sent into the right place and the correct item is crafted successfully. But wait, the lens was not consumed and remains in the input slots of the machine. Not only will this mess up future autocrafts that require different lenses, but also, you now no longer have the diamond lens in your ME system anymore. Which means your autocrafts stop working in two separate ways. Ouch! Isn't there any way to get this lens into the ME system? Maybe with an ME import bus or an Ender.io conduit or something? Nope, it is impossible to remove things from input slots using normal automation. Game over. This is where multi-blocks come in. They can have multiple input blocks and multiple output blocks. This doesn't only make cable management easier, but it also allows you to have multiple input buses, with the lenses already inside the machine. And so, not only don't you need any lenses in your ME system, but you also don't care that they are consumed or not, since you just send different materials to different input buses and get the right result. Just don't forget to turn on input separation on the machine controller. But this solution is in itself problematic, since the multi-block laser engraver is a big investment at this point of the game, requiring you to make an alloy blast smelter and iridium. Iridium, if you'd consult the graphs, is somewhat difficult to obtain, so you'll either have to progress through the game until you get iridium without automating your laser engraving, or you'll have to settle with a less optimal solution. And you will want to automate laser engraving because you need it for electronic circuits, and electronic circuits are used everywhere and in high amounts, and microcrafting gets really annoying. By the way, I'll not be explaining the nitty-gritty of A2 autocrafting here, because you don't need to know. Anyway, since you can only use single blocks for laser engraving at this point of the game, what is the solution? Well, instead of multiple input buses in a multi-block, you stick a bunch of different single blocks in a room, each with different lenses and different ME interfaces, and you stick diamond lens recipes in the engraver with the diamond lens, and so on. Yet, small problem, there are a lot of lenses, and while multi-block input hatches are cheap, EV laser engravers are not, and you are going to spend more materials than you'd like, especially if you want to automate all kinds of engraving recipes and not only the ones required by circuits. Even then, you'll probably need 2 or 3 extra laser engravers. Well, it works. But what if I told you you could solve this automation puzzle with just 1 block? This is what I set my sights on a few weeks ago, though I did already have this idea in my head for quite some time. I decided to livestream myself figuring out the details, and it wasn't very good. So easy. This was so easy. Why don't other people do this as well? It's because they're not as intelligent as me. It's because God hasn't chosen them to lead his mission. You insert on red. And now we are almost there. Okay? Almost there. And this should turn off. Right? Did it start working all of a sudden? Please, Piston. Please save me, Piston. Please, Minecraft Piston, save me. So, let's try and get saved. Piston. Engraver. Please. No, we are dead. It's over. It's over. We can throw ourselves off a bridge. Yeah, it can't be pushed. You're right, Angeloid. Why did I think it would work? It's all about the copium, baby! It's all about the copium! Also, my solution was awful. While I did think at the time that I had been the first person to do this, I wasn't. But those other solutions, while way more powerful and flexible than mine, are also big, scary and complicated. I'm going to show you something way more accessible that can be implemented by you right now in your world. No university degree required. Though it will have some limitations I will discuss at the end of the video. So, how do I start explaining this? Let's first discuss the mechanic that makes this possible. Applied Energistics Annihilation and Formation Planes. The deal is simple. Annihilation planes suck blocks into the ME system, and formation planes place blocks in the world. And yes, the inventory contents get sucked in as well. So, easy peasy? Well, don't get your hopes up. Annihilation planes literally annihilate everything they touch. They are not just going to wait for your craft to be done. And formation planes don't just place blocks down. If you have a block in your drives and request for it to be placed down, this doesn't mean it will be placed down. Blocks are only placed down the moment they enter the system. Formation planes are a destination for items, not a requester of items. This complicates things a lot. We have a formation plane that places no blocks, and we have an annihilation plane that annihilates everything indiscriminately. Is there anything we can do? Well, obviously the answer is yes. But let's go step by step. How do we rein in the annihilation plane? Fortunately, A2 gives us even more tools to work with. Behold, the ME toggle bus. Devices in A2 need to be connected to a controller in order to work. The toggle bus acts like a switch that toggles connections on and off based on a redstone signal. So if we place one in between our network cables, we can turn the annihilation plane on and off on demand. That's great. And how exactly do we generate this redstone signal? I mean, it's quite simple, right? When we're done with the crafting, we just need to quickly toggle the bus on and off and poof, the block disappears into the ether. By the way, this is what happens when you connect a formation plane and an annihilation plane in a loop. Interesting. Seems useless. But this shows us that we can replace a block by simply annihilating it and reforming it immediately, in quick succession. No subnetworks needed. But how do we know when the crafting is done? I went through several crafting solution iterations but eventually I found one that works very well. Here it is. See how it pulses a signal after the craft is finished. And here is its diagram. Now, there are some things to unpack here, but not that many. We start by determining if the machine is currently not crafting anything using a remote activity cover transmitting into this advanced remote receiver. Remember to set the frequencies. So, if the machine is not doing anything, this comes on. But if all we did was check if the machine wasn't running, then because it's never running before a craft, it wouldn't be able to sit still long enough for items to be inserted and the craft to begin. Basically, it would be quick cycling, like this other example. We need a way to stop the cycling at least until a craft is finished. This is where the second part of the circuit comes in. An item counter cover set one item, a NAND gate, and a 1.5 second timer. Timers count up for the amount of time you've set them to, and when they complete a rotation, they send out a redstone pulse out of their output and restart the count. But when they receive a redstone signal into their input, their count is reset. Which means that if we hold a high signal into the input of a timer, we stop it from activating, and when we don't hold a signal into the timer's input, we allow it to count up. The NAND gate by default will emit a redstone signal that will impede the timer from counting up, but when it receives a redstone signal into here and here, it will deactivate, allowing the timer to tick up and pulse, which activates the ME toggle bus, which breaks and replaces the laser engraver, retrieving the lenses back into the system. We know that this redstone trace is controlled by the machine being idle. This other one is controlled by an item detector cover that measures the amount of items inside the engraver, and it is configured such that when there is more than one item inside the machine, it will emit a redstone signal. And because in all laser engraving recipes a non-consumable item is required, When crafting finishes, one item will remain inside the machine: the lens. Using this cover, we are able to detect the moment that the craft has occurred. So, when we have more than one item inside the machine, and the machine is idle, a timer will wait for 1.5 seconds before pulsing and causing the machine to be replaced. The 1.5 second delay is necessary to allow for a craft to commence without replacing the machine unnecessarily. This is because when we request a craft, items will be sent into the machine, but it will take some moments for the craft to begin. Both because it takes some ticks for the game itself to recognize that the craft is possible, and for the activity cover to update. And also because the items are not sent to the machine all at once. And as items are sent into the engraver, the lens might be the last item to be sent, delaying the craft. Cool! Well, that is mostly it. Now you can auto-craft recipes with non-consumables using single blocks. As a conclusion to this video, I'll quickly go through some flaws and details about this design that might be useful to you. Here we go. Don't forget a conveyor belt with allow input on, in order to allow item transfer for auto-crafting. Make sure you use the 2x button while doing your recipes, because if you don't, when you craft more than one of a thing, you'll need multiple lenses in your AE system, and also TPS or whatever. Remember to add the lens manually to the recipe, because AE2 by default will not include non-consumables in the pattern just by shift right clicking. This will work during early to mid IV, but please make the multi-blocks when they become economical. They are just better. Blocking mode, 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 blocking mode. And most importantly, like, comment, subscribe. Okay, bye. Fuck, I forgot the VTuber reference, didn't I? Shit. Look at that. Take one dirt out. I'm a genius. Okay? I'm a genius. I don't need you to tell me I'm a genius, because I know that I'm a genius.